You know, the great Islamic scholar, philosopher, and author Khalil Gibran once said that work is love made visible. And well, our next guest is someone who I believe typifies that. Meet Larry Harshbarger. Welcome.
Thank you, David. That was the perfect introduction because I, do have fun in my job, and it's done with passion and love, and that's the best way to have any kind of a job.
You know, you're here today as the founder and CEO of AsiaSF, which is
Yes.
an organization which I think has transformed nightlife in San Francisco, and also really done a lot for transgender equality and celebration. But you've been having fun and loving your work for a long time. Just as point of fact, we met over 20 years ago when you were the chair of Academy of Friends.
Absolutely.
And I was on the board raising money in the fight against AIDS during a time when it really was a matter of life and death.
Absolutely. I mean, I arrived in San Francisco back in January of 1977. So living through all those years, the early years of AIDS, and seeing so many of my friends, as so many people did, perish because of that pandemic, it felt like I needed to do something like we all did. And so I was blessed because I was in a position at Macy's, where I worked at the time, to take this iconic event called Passport and turn it into an HIV/AIDS fundraiser. And so over the years, we actually raised over $30 million
I knew it was some extraordinary amount.
Lots of money for different HIV/AIDS organizations. But I think even equally as important as that is that we created so much awareness around this fight. And when Dame Elizabeth Taylor signed on as our founding chair, of course, you couldn't get a better partner to bring visibility to the cause. And I think that I always said to myself that to have a job where you do good work for your company, but also you do something good for the community is such a wonderful thing. And so I've been very blessed in that respect.
You know, I wouldn't be a good gay man if I didn't ask you this question. I mean, I've been in the same room with Elizabeth Taylor, but I've never met her. What was it like when you got that call? And I mean,
it was incredible. Again, I just am so blessed that we had her as part of our journey,
because that really helped make it a success.
Oh, absolutely. And we would, generate, international press when she would appear. And, Elizabeth really felt that she was an AIDS activist. Yes, she was an Academy Award-winning actress, but in those years of her life, it was all about making a difference and raising awareness and funds around HIV and AIDS. And so having worked with her was amazing. But I got to tell you, to go up on the highest hill in Bel Air and go into her house and to spend time with her and to see those two Oscars right there on her mantle. I mean, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. She was just a larger-than-life character.
She was a larger-than-life character, and actually, a lot of people probably don't know, she was very, very funny.
Oh, and funny.
Yeah, tiny, but very funny, and we always had such a great time working with her, and even in the later years of Passport, that was really one of the only events that she would show up and be a part of.
Because she had become somewhat, I don't want to say reclusive, but very selective about when she would go out in public.
Well, she had her health issues as she got a little bit older, and so some of that really prevented her from doing as much as she would like to do. But with Passport, if she could be there, she was always there. We were really blessed. We also had Magic Johnson and his foundation that were a part of it. Sharon Stone was a major player in terms of Passport as well. So we had a lot of great people. And then, of course, all my years on the board of Academy of Friends with you, which was another organization that raised money and awareness around HIV and AIDS. And we would produce, as you know, the largest Oscar party outside of Hollywood and raise money for HIV and AIDS and broadcast the show.
Before we get into talking more about AsiaSF and the show Transcendent, which is a reality show about the experience of that, I don't think I've ever asked you exactly how you got to San Francisco. Where are you from? How did this boy Larry Harshbarger end up here in the middle of all these fabulous transgender performers?
I grew up in Denver, in Colorado, and it was one of those things where I always, I described Denver as a big cow town without the cows. And so I was just like, I got to get out of this place. It wasn't big enough for me, and it wasn't, I had a lot of dreams of what I wanted to do with my life and my career, and so it just felt like, that wasn't the place to do it. And so now I go back and I love it there, and it's changed a lot, but in those days I was like, I got to get out of there. So I was either going to go to New York, LA, or San Francisco, and I guess I made the right choice because I ended up here, and it's just been the most extraordinary journey.
Now, I remember when I left the Academy of Friends board, and of course working with your then colleague at Macy's, Patrick Smith. The two of you, I used to say, were Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Doing more good work for AIDS causes. And I forget who told me, but someone said, "Oh, Larry's got this idea. He's opening something called AsiaSF." Yeah. How did that idea come to you, and are you surprised that it has become now the subject of a reality TV show?
Wow. That is the #1 question that people always ask me at AsiaSF is, how did you come up with the idea? And, there's no short answer, unfortunately, because everyone expects a short answer, but it really has to do with a lifetime of experiences and travels around the world and the opportunity to meet transgender women in different countries as well. And then I went to Southeast Asia, to Thailand in particular, and I started to see some of the shows there with trans women, and it just inspired me. And there were things I'd never seen before.
And what was it that inspired you? Their personal stories, the look, the kind of gender quality of it, or all of it together?
There, they have shows that are very LA, are very, not LA, but very Las Vegas type shows. And so I think I was really struck just by the glamour of it, but then also these beautiful women, and to, think about their journey and their stories, and what in their life created them to get to where they are today. So that really started to resonate with me. And so I started to network in the transgender community in San Francisco. I met a lot of the girls, and that was sort of, how the journey began. And then, of course, I was in the nightlife scene in San Francisco for many years, and so it sort of grew out of that experience.
But it was a personal interest, and you meeting these women, meeting these performers. It wasn't...
It was a personal interest. I mean, my life, I've always loved doing things that are unique and different, things that have never been done before, and of course things that I have a passion for. I mean, I always tell young people it's like the most important thing. Anything you do in life, you got to have a passion for it. You have to love it, and if not, move on.
Do something else.
Do something else.
When AsiaSF started, I mean, Finocchio's, I think, had ended.
Yeah, after 60 years.
Yeah, there was a hole in the nightlife community. I mean, San Francisco's always had a reputation for pushing the envelope, and so, tourists from Indiana, nothing against Indiana, probably don't have an AsiaSF or a Finocchio's in Indianapolis, right?
I don't think so.
Do you?
But now they're saying, would you open one in Indianapolis?
Yeah, right now they are, and you probably created that niche.
I think so.
But does it bother you when people compare you to a Finocchio's or a drag show, when people just say, oh, well, AsiaSF is a drag show? Does that bother you?
I don't think it bothers me. It shows me that there's, really a lack of understanding and knowledge about the transgender community. I mean, when we first opened, people used to say, oh, you're the new Finocchio's.
Yes.
And I was like, well, we're not really. I mean, there are some comparisons, but we celebrate human diversity at AsiaSF. And I always say, when you come through the doors, there are no windows, because for this brief moment in time, this is your reality. And it's a perfect microcosm of a world where everybody comes together and celebrates who they are. And our business model is actually very simple. It's just like, be who you are, whatever that is.
Would there have been a Kardashians without the women of AsiaSF? I mean, would there be this window for Bruce Jenner to have transitioned to Caitlyn Jenner?
What's interesting is that we've been in business over 17 years. And so we have created employment opportunities for the transgender community for a long, long time. We've created a warm, wonderful, safe environment for them to work, where, you know, the girls that work there make a lot of money, so they can go to school and get an education, better themselves, get an apartment, buy a car, all the things that many people take for granted. So
because unemployment among the transgender community is like triple what it is for the community at large, correct?
It's very difficult. Even right here in San Francisco, you think, you know, that it would be a lot easier, but it is in many respects, because there are a lot more support systems for the trans community, but it's very hard to find employment. And so I think what we do at AsiaSF is we really educate people, but not in a preachy sort of way. And so that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about our show, Transcendent, which, by the way, the tagline is "Become Who You Are." And to me, I loved it when actually the network came up with that tagline, because it was, to me, what that says is look inside, find your truth, and have the courage to be who you are.
Have you found that the producers of the show are sensitive and respectful and understanding of what you're doing? I.e., do you think there is some, well, in the ecological world, they call it greenwashing. You know, suddenly, oh, everything is green. Oh, we're going to make this green. It's green. It's green.
Yeah.
Do you get a sense now that, like, everyone is trying to be trans? And do you feel that this show is being respectful of the human people that work at AsiaSF?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of focus on the transgender community right now, certainly because of Caitlyn Jenner, of Laverne Cox, some of the bigger visibility trans people. And, you know, that's a good thing, because I think it does educate people and make them more aware of what's going on. As far as our show, Transcendent, I have to tell you honestly from the heart, one of my biggest concerns initially going into the idea of doing a show was the fact that I didn't want a reality show like The Housewives. I wanted something that was really more true to our story. And so when Fuse, which is a network that's bought our show, they came on board. What they said is, we want a docuseries. We don't really want a reality show. We want a docuseries, which is more organic, more gritty, more real to life. They even love the idea of San Francisco, and they want to feature this beautiful city as part of our show. So from day one, they had the right mentality about our show. And then, of course, when World of Wonder came on as a production company, they produced RuPaul's Drag Race for Logo and $1 Million Listing for Bravo, which, of course, just the San Francisco version just premiered, you know, a few weeks ago. We knew we were in good hands. And so the show has been done in a way that is very respectful and dignified, and it embraces the courageous choice that these women have made in their lives. And it really really documents the triumphs and challenges of being transgender in America today.
You know, I've been here in San Francisco since 1986, and when I came here, I didn't know anything about the T in LGBT. I remember meeting my first member of the trans community here, and I kind of surprised myself with how uneducated I was. And I remember thinking, I'm a Kenzie Six. I've known I was gay since I was forever. And to find out that I was misinformed and didn't understand the transgender community kind of hurt my feelings. And I felt, well, if I don't have this sensitivity, how can the world at large? Have you ever had any experiences at AsiaSF where there was someone who came to see a show, and I'll ask it both ways, that you felt they were inappropriate, that you had to intervene, or also on the other side, that someone came to a show at AsiaSF and left, well, transcendent?
Well, I think that we do change lives, and I've seen that so many times over the 17 years we've been in business. And I'm not just talking about, you know, for transgender people who come there. I'm talking about everybody. I mean, 70% of our business is women, like straight women. We have, you know, a huge bachelorette business.
That's fascinating.
And birthday, yes. And so, you know, we have had situations, you know, where people, because obviously one of the things we do there is we celebrate, people have a good time, and they drink a few cocktails. So sometimes when people have had a couple drinks, they will, you know, say things that are inappropriate, or will, you know, ask questions that might be uncomfortable. But we always tell we call them the ladies of AsiaSF, we tell them that they can have whatever conversation they're comfortable with. And if they want to answer a question, they can. If they don't feel comfortable, they do not have to. If the situation gets, you know, to a point where they feel really uncomfortable, then the management will intervene and will take over. So it's not really that big of an issue in this day and age because people are much more aware of transgender today and what that whole journey is about. But you know, it really is about educating people, and I think that's the great thing about Transcendent as well, is that the show definitely will educate the public, and very different than I'm Kate, you know, which is, you know, also very interesting show, and I think they're bringing a lot of great issues. But I think when you look at our show and the 5 featured cast members, you're going to meet a couple a little bit later, that you'll see, you know, these women that have had to really struggle through their lives and have known since they were kids
that they were
born in the wrong body.
Well, we're gonna meet them now. We're gonna meet 2 cast members of Transcendent, 2 performers of AsiaSF, Naya and Bambiana. Last question for you, just a few seconds. How has working at AsiaSF and working with these women changed you as a gay man?
It's extraordinary. I mean, I am pretty much like the father figure. So I don't have any biological children, but trust me, I have lots of children.
Now you've got lots of girls.
I have lots of girls, and actually everybody who works there, because it is like a family. And even though we're a business, and at the end of the day we have to make a profit, you know, and be able to pay everybody, the reality is that we are like a family. And so I guess as a gay man it's changed me because, you know, I mean, I don't have biological children, but I still have my children at AsiaSF. So
well, we're going to meet 2 of your girls now. Next up, our conversation with Naya and Bambiana, 2 of the ladies of AsiaSF. We'll be right back.